Well, our Discover Thursday featured member this week is Matt Berry with
Hello.
Windermere Realty.
Yep.
Matt, who says you can't go home, right?
Yeah.
Coming back to Birch Bay. Tell us about Matt Berry.
Yep. So I grew up out here, Birch Bay Village. My parents moved out onto Birch Bay Drive when I was graduating high school. Went and did my thing at Washington State University and lived in Bellingham a little while because that's where, young folks were at the time. But I was back in Birch Bay pretty much every weekend, especially during the summertime, doing the beach stuff and 4th of July. I don't think I've ever been anywhere else for 4th of July. And crabbing season, of course, has always been I don't know, my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
When the crabs open and the blackberries are ripe, little crab, little blackberry cobblers, just, it's the greatest. So.
Taste the home.
Yeah, during the pandemic, my wife and I kind of were, evaluating. I think a lot of people kind of evaluated the direction, they were going in life and everything. We went, why are we not in Birch Bay? We're there all the time. So we moved back out here and just down the street from my parents, and it's been good with, the kids and their grandkids, and I'm happy to be out here. We just hit 2.5 years back in here, but.
So raising your family in town.
Yep. I had a great childhood out here, and once, we start thinking about that with the boys. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. We went, I want them to have the same kind of upbringing I had. And this is just a special place. So
it's funny, when you're a kid, you don't really realize what a cool upbringing you're experiencing.
Yeah.
It's always in hindsight.
And everybody gets that, I think, that drive to well, maybe I'd be happier in California or Florida or, my sister's in LA here, but I just can't leave. And so when I'm, introducing new people to the area and they're going, this is the greatest place on earth, it's nice to hear. Okay, well, I'm glad I'm here.
Right.
I was lucky to have been raised here rather than having to discover it, I guess.
You touched on it a little bit, obviously you and your family, but a number of other families are moving to the area or have recently moved to the area. Some of that a result of what we've gone through the last 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
And some of it, people have just found Birch Bay. But again, you touched on it a little bit. What is the big draw as you see it to people moving to this area?
Well, Birch Bay's changed a lot since, I was first growing up here. When I was a kid, it was almost 50-50 Canadian ownership here. And so that's something that I've tracked for the last 5 or 6 years. Every winter time when I've got a little free time, I go to the title company and I get the data from them on tax billing addresses and all that, and kind of analyze taxes and whatnot. But what I found is the amount of, or the proportion of tax billing addresses in Canada has been steadily declining. So I think Birch Bay has transitioned in the past 20, 30 years from almost a seasonal vacation community to more of a family, retiree, nice blend. And then of course, there's still tons of visitors. We have 248 short-term rentals in Birch Bay, if you can believe it.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's still definitely a healthy element of visitors, but I guess with the pandemic too, and the kind of rise in remote working, and this is all anecdotal, but I've met a lot of folks who went, well, I don't have to be in Seattle anymore, and this is a place where you can quasi-affordably be on the beach. Like, why not, So it's been kind of wild seeing how Birch Bay's changed and all that, but I think it's all in a positive direction.
Let's talk about the market a little bit. That's been something that's been an interesting topic, not just in Birch Bay, but throughout the region. And I went to the Neighborhood News, which is some information that you offer. We'll touch more on that in a second. I found this number interesting. Median active listings right now are $499,000. The median sold listings are about $100,000 less, actually over $100,000 less. One, is that common? And two, what does that mean?
Well, I think that's a result of, we had just almost out of control appreciation prior to last spring when the interest rates went up. Home values were able to inflate pretty much based on people's, it was all dependent on the payment. So as interest rates went down, prices go up and the payments could remain the same. So it was out of control. And it was partially due, I guess, in a lack of listing inventory. Our Windermere chief economist, Matthew Gardner, does quarterly reports and year-end reports and everything. And analyzing in Whatcom County the amount of building versus the amount of demand, it's way out of whack. You know, this is a highly desirable place to live. You can go sailing one day and skiing the next day. It's a very unique place to live. So a lot of people want to come here, but we are not building housing quick enough to satisfy the need.
And it's not exactly easy to build here either.
Well, no, it's not easy to build because we have so many critical areas and, you know, it's a lot of regulations.
Yeah.
Good stuff, you know.
Yeah.
What I'm dealing with with my personal building project is county wanting to make sure we build a resilient house, you know, considering the environment and all that. So I don't take issue with that, but it does slow down the amount of new construction. And so partially it's a lack of inventory, high demand, but what happened was we hit a wall when interest rates went up because people's purchasing power went way down. And I think it's taken some time for sellers to kind of recalibrate. And certainly last summer there were a lot that were priced for 3% interest rates, and then when it went up to 6 and 7%, just wasn't feasible for a buyer. So that inventory I think has been absorbed by the market, and then now people are starting to come back and they're a little more realistic with the pricing, or at least we have the comparable sales history to better hone in on the price, whereas before it was, I mean, it was difficult to get to a price that worked for both parties. The other thing that I'll bring up is the average list to sale price ratio. For the past 2 or 3 years, it was at or above 100%. So if a home was listed for $500,000, it was going for 505 or 510 or above. Now we're seeing the list to sale price ratio closer to like 95%. So there is some wiggle room. And another stat I'll throw at you is the kind of, maybe it contextualizes all of the different things we could talk about, like median sale price, list to sale price ratio, number of new listings, pending sales, is the month's supply of inventory, is kind of the one that tells the whole story. And that's based off of new listing activity, new inventory coming on the market, and the number of pending sales. And so that takes a look at that and it says if there's no new homes added to the market, how long would it take to absorb all of these sales? And anything below 4 months is a seller's market, and we were at 1.2, 0.5 at one point in 2020. It was so tight that's when you saw the list prices going, or the purchase prices going way above list price. But now, when interest rates went up last spring, it got up to just about 4 months of inventory. 4 to 6 months is a balanced market. Above 6 months is a buyer's market. Tons of deals, you know. Right now, we've gone back down and we're about 3 months of inventory. So we're certainly, it's still a seller's market, but it's not the same market that it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
And I know you have
is that a long-winded way of answering your
Well, and I know you have to be careful when you talk about the future, because if we could predict the future, neither of us would be sitting right now here. Right now, we'd be on a beach on a tropical island somewhere. But as you look into your crystal ball, where do you see things trending over the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, I don't think that the inventory problem is going to get solved. We're just simply not building. And there's such a deficit of homes. We couldn't build them fast enough to satisfy the demand, and I don't think the demand's going anywhere because this area is only becoming more desirable. Partially, in part, certainly due to all the nice events the chamber puts on and everything, you know. I don't know what's going to happen, but all we can do is kind of prepare for any eventuality. And so what we've done in the past year, since interest rates went up and the market changed, is develop tools with lenders to mitigate the interest rate changes. So, 2-in-1 buy downs or seller concessions to buy down the rate. We've had a lot of success with that. So I can't say what's going to happen. I'm betting personally on it continuing to appreciate. However, maybe a more modest pace than 12, 16% a year was not sustainable. Right now, we're still seeing just modest appreciation, but I don't think we can predict it. We can just prepare for any eventuality.
numbers don't lie. They always tell the truth, and you can look at past trends and look at future trends, but we're really coming out of what's been kind of an unprecedented time, and that's probably what makes it difficult to look 2 or 3 steps ahead.
Yeah, well, and some numbers are more trustworthy than others. For example, everybody loves to talk about median sale price, but it's like comparing apples and oranges. An index, if we could develop an index for our area, say, here's the standard Birch Bay house cabin, and then just look at those trends over time. Right now, for example, like February didn't look like a good month as far as median sale prices were concerned. It showed lower than January. However, there weren't a whole lot of sales in February, and they could have been ones that were more closer to 300,000, a couple condos in there. Whereas, say in the summertime, when you get some big waterfront places selling for $1 million plus, that's going to inflate the median sale price number. So it's almost, I think you have to utilize the numbers, but get a feel for the market.
Absolutely.
And
the reason I brought up numbers, Matt, was because you are a self-proclaimed numbers guy. You brought a stack of data with you here today, but some of that I'm sure has to do with your past in the appraisal side too.
Yep. So I just noticed on my license on the wall the other day that I'm hitting another anniversary there, but I started in 2007, or is it 2008? It was when I got my license, the day that they were talking about bailouts, remember?
Yeah.
and downtown Bellingham, they were putting the garbage bags over the Washington Mutual signs and all that. So it was a horrible time to transition to a real estate career, but I've made it a whole market cycle, possibly to the next bank bailouts. But
you've seen the peaks and the valleys.
Yep. And so, yes, I started in real estate appraisal, which is very, very analytical, utilizing paired sales analysis to figure out something like how much does a fireplace contribute to the value of a home, and utilizing regression analysis to figure out, people love to talk about price per square foot. That is very dependent on there's an economy of scale to it. So, last September I sold a 700 square foot cabin on Birch Bay Drive, the direct waterfront portion. It went for $1,200 a square foot. You're not going to get that same price per square footage with a 3,000 square foot home. It'd be much lower. But beginning and appraising definitely, I think, helped me get a good foundation for pricing, looking at these trends and trying to figure out what's going on.
Right. Yeah. And you can obviously dive in with people as deep as they want to go. Might be a little boring in this forum, but
it would be super boring. Yeah.
Exactly. Being real estate seems to me in that industry, when you're an agent, broker, whatever, it's much more than just buying and selling homes. And I know some of the taglines that you and Windermere like to use: all in for Birch Bay, all in for you. That tells me that you guys are in it more than just buying and selling. You're in it for the Birch Bay community.
Yeah, I certainly didn't anticipate when I got my broker's license 7 years ago, the work I'd be doing that had nothing to do with pricing a home or negotiating a contract or anything like that. Like I mow lawns. I've gone under houses to get photos of upgraded plumbing or whatever, crawl space work, stuff like that. Lots of moving,
staging,
lots of staging, fair bit of cleaning, but I guess it's whatever you need to do to try to make it as stress-free and straightforward as a process as you can.
It's funny, I've heard people say, boy, there's a lot of realtors here. And I look at it as, that's a good thing for the community, because that's just that many more people. When your livelihood depends on a community or an area, then you're going to be vested in that community. So that's a lot of people that are here and truly vested in our small community.
And there's a lot around here too that have gotten involved with the chamber or involved with local government, things like that. And I think that comes from, you get a lot of experience with different people, what their experiences here, what their goals are here, but you also deal with say, planning and development, and you start to figure out, okay, well, I don't think that this is serving our community or that or whatever. So I think it's I guess a natural progression.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But
yeah, absolutely. Matt, we touched on it a little bit earlier, the neighborhood news. There's other things. You have listings, market forecasts. You can find some drive times, tools on your website.
Yeah,
Matt, what is that website?
It's my first and last name .withwre.com. So MATTBERY.WITHWRE.com.
I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah,
too,
please
so
do, because I don't have a ton of practice saying that out loud, obviously, but I try to put as much information there as possible. So, stuff that I use, like the tide tables or, crapping seasons or the golf cart zone rules, stuff like that. But there's also daily interest rate forecasts. So you can check in there and see kind of how that's doing, and it's gone down a little bit, which is good. Or the neighborhood news, which is an email service that I provide that sends out new listings. So you put in your location, your zip code there, and it'll show you new properties similar to yours and comps. And so just an easy way to kind of stay on top of the market trends, median sale prices, things like that. But also, if anybody wants to contact me, I'm always happy to do a complimentary, we call them a CMA, comparative market analysis, but it's essentially a mini appraisal. We utilize a version of the sales comparison approach to take a look at your property, recent comparable sales, and then make some adjustments to give you an idea of what an accurate price. And it's much more accurate than what you find on Zillow, for example.
What I've taken from everything we've talked about here, Matt, and you've thrown out a lot of numbers. We've thrown out a lot of acronyms, of which I understand maybe a fourth of them. Yep. But at the end of the day, I see your job as a real estate agent is to make the process as simple and as turnkey for your clientele as possible. If we took everything and funneled it down, that would basically be the job description, correct?
Yep, and to offer representation. That's the big thing, is representation and liability management. We have insurance for if things go wrong, but we also provide a shield against, it's a big, any of these transactions is a lot of money and there's a lot of emotion in it, and it's key to have someone there representing your best interests and shielding you from that emotion and any disagreements or anything that might arise.
Because it is an emotional purchase.
Oh yeah, it's your home.
Yeah, and if you're selling, you've got memories there. That's obviously going to be emotion. And then if you're buying, hey, you're looking at making memories.
Am I making a good choice? That kind of stuff. So just having someone there representing your interest with, hundreds of transactions of experience under their belt, it's worth every penny.
Enjoying it more than the radio business?
I don't know.
Radio
was fun. I was
little background. Matt and I, in previous conversations, realized we'd both been in that industry.
Yep. You have a lot more experience than I. Mine was a lot of interning in high school at Cascade Radio Group and doing news on the weekends and stuff like that. And then when I went to college, the free radio station on campus, they wouldn't have me, but I got a job doing the morning show at the alt rock station, Border 104, New Rock for the Palouse, across at Crankit, and that was a ton of fun. But I don't like waking up early. I don't like waking up that early.
Did a morning show for years. The problem wasn't waking up early. The problem was sounding like you were happy and cheerful at 6 a.m. when everybody knew you were
giving out coffee cards and
Matt Berry with Windermere Realty. You'll see on the screen all of the contact information. Our Discover Thursday featured member of the week. Matt, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
You betcha, buddy.